All right, y'all. Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. We're going to talk about Tucker Carlson. He went on to his brother's podcast. I believe his brother's name is Buckley Carlson. I believe it's Buckley Carlson. Um, he went on there and pretty much apologized for voting for Donald Trump and promoting him during the time he was campaigning, not only, in 2024, but going way back. He was promoting Donald Trump the entire time. He stopped doing that because, see, Trump is fighting with him now. In fact, Donald Trump is fighting with Candace Owens, um, Tucker Carlson, and a few other conservatives that he's been openly fighting with. And ever since that has happened, that I think broke out like 2, maybe 3 weeks ago. And ever since then, now he's done an about face. And Alex Jones is another one Donald Trump has been fighting with, you know? And they're now all turning on him. Okay. And they're very upset with Donald Trump. And now they have turned on him, speaking heavily against Donald Trump, not agreeing with anything that he's doing. But here's the question: when a Republican votes for a president, and that president turns out to be a disaster like Donald Trump, can you forgive them? And my answer is probably no, especially while you're still in the middle of that person's presidency. After it's over, some, years will go by and people will start having amnesia. But as long as Donald Trump is the sitting president, my answer is no. There are many people that are not going to forgive Republicans, whether you're MAGA or you are far right, alt right, or whatever the hell you are. No, not while he is the sitting president and he's still making all these crazy decisions that make no sense. Then, no, I think a lot of people are not going to be inclined to forgiving you. But how will you see this after listening to Tucker Carlson and hearing these other opinions? How will you feel? Now, there was one funny one, but the woman had music on there. She had this wallpaper of pigs flying, letting Tucker know, I will forgive you when pigs can fly. That was a little funny. But I think a lot of people will be split on how they feel about this. Just yesterday, I saw a MAGA person throw their MAGA hat in the trash. And I'm thinking to myself, the damage is already done. Whether you toss that MAGA hat or not, at this point, it doesn't make any difference. It's not going to change anything. Yeah, there you go. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen. And don't forget to pick up your 12 Tribe on Earth hair products and make sure you use the discount code. Thank you. 10 still works. It does not have an expiration date. All right, y'all. Let me share my screen. Oh, where is it? All right, hold on, y'all. Hold on 1 second. Okay, it's still downloading, and I don't know why it's taken this long. It never takes this long. So, anyway, y'all, one of my things I've been trying to do because I'm trying to get the botana oil and everything ready for my second year anniversary. I was looking for purple jars. I have never in my life thought it would be this difficult to find purple jars. I cannot find purple jars. And the ones that I do find, they're too little. They're like 4 ounce or they're 2 ounce, but they don't have them bigger. And it's shocking to me. How the hell do you not have purple jars, but they don't have it? So um, I got an alternative jar. It's a clear jar with a lavender color lid. So I'm going to have to go with that. I cannot find a purple jar. So anyway, I got all of the other jars for the Botana oil leave-in conditioner, and I have the big 16-ounce shampoo bottles that are purple, but purple jars, I guess that's an elusive thing because I sure can't find it. Okay, it's almost halfway done. Yeah, yeah, Kimberly Ship, you're right. This place is done. It is no president. I don't care who you elect. There is no president that can clear this whole thing up. Now, I did hear the new Treasury Secretary is talking about they're going to clear up all of the US debt so we're not insolvent anymore. So I was like, okay, so what does that include? Printing more money? So you're going to print $39 trillion, but they claim they're going to wipe out all of America's debt. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. That does not sound realistic to me that you can just wipe out $39 trillion in debt. But this is the claim they're making. I mean, wouldn't countries that you owe money to still want their money? I mean, I doubt if they'll wipe out the debt willingly because Donald Trump has literally fallen out with every ally and every non-ally. He done fell out with everybody. And I just don't see them giving America a break. But that's what he's claiming when he becomes the Treasury Secretary. He's going to wipe out America's debt. Okay. Well, does that mean all the prices will go down? I have a lot of questions that I need answered. So if you're going to wipe out all this debt, then you should be able to lower the prices. Everything is astronomical out here. It is absolutely insane. I mean, just going out today and looking at the price, everything is crazy out here. Yeah, well, that's what they're claiming. I heard it yesterday actually out in the media yesterday that his intent when he gets in the position is to wipe out all of the debt so that America is no longer insolvent. But what does that really mean, y'all? So you got yourself $39 trillion in debt. You ain't going to do nothing but get back in debt again. Look who you got in office. Donald Trump is a crazy spender. He contribute 8 trillion dollars to the debt when he left office in his first term. All you got to do is look this up. He left this country in $8 trillion of debt when he left. You cannot imagine what he's going to leave when he finished his second term. That's why I'm like, all you're going to do is accumulate more debt. Y'all don't know how to manage money. 39 trillion, that is proof right there. Y'all love being in charge, but you don't know how to manage things, and you're too corrupt. That debt came from stealing, y'all. Each administration that went in there stole money. You remember George W. Bush? All kinds of money was missing by the time he left office. Y'all go in there and steal money. That's why you want to be president so bad. Because it ain't about running the country. It's about how much you can get in there and rob. All right, let me see where it is. It's done. All right, good. That's all it's about. That's why you couldn't run these guys out of these positions with a rifle. That's why you think he's putting that bunker down there. He don't want to leave. If he leaves, he can't rob the country anymore. So yes, he want to stay in there so he can rob money for himself, his son-in-law that's getting all these billion-dollar contracts and everything. That's why they want to stick around and don't want to leave. But yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to see how he's going to get this country out of all that debt. But this is what he's claiming. All right. It's almost there, almost there. So other than that, y'all, it was freezing overnight here. It went down to 31 degrees. And listen, we were in the 90s last week. It just goes to show you how wild the weather swings from one temperature to the next. We had 3 days in the 90s, and we went all the way down to 31 degrees last night, and it was cold. Okay, I'm ready. All right, here we go. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Thank you.
Looking back, because I mean, you and I and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him, I campaigned for him. I mean, we're implicated in this for sure.
Yes.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind, or like, oh, this is bad, I'm out. It's like in very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yes.
So I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. It was not intentional. That's all I'll say. But anyway, the question does present itself immediately. Like, what is this? Was this always the plan? You don't want to be a conspiracy nut, but like clearly there were signs of low character. We knew that.
Yes.
But it didn't. There are tons of people of low character who like outperform their character. It doesn't have to be
sort of the norm, actually, these days. I
right.
would say.
I've outperformed my character a lot.
Okay, just in case you never seen him before, that is Tucker Carlson's brother. That he has a podcast, and the two of them both supported and promoted Donald Trump, and that's what the podcast is about. So if you've never seen him before, that's his brother.
Don't have especially high character, right? But you try to you try your best. But what was this? Was this always the plan?
Looking back after the last year and a half, it seems like it kind of was, and it's easy. Well, you could get really deep about it and say, what was Butler? Like, how was it that and Ryan Ruth? I mean, he was subject to 2 legitimate assassination attempts. Have we ever gotten to the bottom? I know you've talked a lot about this, but have we ever gotten to the bottom of that?
I haven't talked a lot about it. I don't know the answer, but I know that those investigations have been stymied. Fact.
Yeah, stymied from the very top, from people who actually would have the power to get to the bottom of it.
And the motive.
Yes,
yeah,
very much. So the enormous amount of money he got from Miriam Adelson now seems suspect to a lot of people at the time. But, there's a lot of money in politics. To run for president requires an enormous, Cackling Camel Toe went through $2 billion in 4 months. So, sure, there's an argument to be made that you get money from those who will give it to you. It's just the nature of that game. But it's still reprehensible, and it's still a big question mark. Why would someone who has obvious and demonstrated allegiance to a foreign power give Donald Trump $250 million while he's running for president? How is that defensible? It's really not. If Russia had given a PAC for Trump, if the mayor of Moscow had somehow assembled an enormous amount of money and put it in a 501c3 for Trump's benefit, would that have been acceptable? Of course it wouldn't have been. So what does it's so basic, comes back to the money. Like, what did they get in return for that amount of investment? And it's clear.
I get it. No, of course, I agree with every word that you're saying. I just think, given his behavior and his demonstrated disloyalty and viciousness to previous supporters.
Yes.
Why wouldn't he display the same lack of loyalty to Miriam Adelson? That's kind of the question. The only people he's been loyal to are the neocons and his donors. So he's attacked, so he attacks Islam. Some of us stand up and say, probably shouldn't be attacking a religion. Oh, you're a Muslim, secret Muslim. You love Muslim. No. I like reverence, and I don't think you should attack people on the basis of their religion. Don't attack the religion.
Yes.
And all these evangelicals are like, oh, you're a Muslim. The next week he attacks Jesus.
Right.
Okay, because it's all connected, right?
Clearly.
Of course.
You're well beyond money, obviously.
Well, right. But the one person he's never going to attack is Rebbe Schneerson.
Yes.
And, the Chabad leader who's passed, but who I'm not attacking, by the way, but who was regarded as the Messiah by many of his followers. I don't think Trump should attack him, to be clear. But Trump would never attack him. That's the one Messiah he will never attack. So, what is that? Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong.
It's totally cool to attack Jesus. Oh, it's a joke. I was saying I was a doctor. I heal people. Well, that's how Jesus described himself, by the way. You're attacking Jesus.
Yes. No, demonstrably so. He did that
obviously
on purpose, yes.
On a Sunday.
Absolutely.
You're attacking Jesus on a Sunday. It's totally fine. But we all know, and again, I'm not asking that he attack Rebbe Schneerson. He should not. But he never would. He'd die first. So you tell me what that is.
Gosh, I wish I knew, but I know, but he should be called to respond.
I agree.
Yeah, very much so. It makes no sense. Although it's revealing, as you're indicating. Plus, Trump is a totally secular human being who never held a Bible, didn't put his hand on the Bible. Obviously, that's an offensive statement right there that should have been. He's the only president of the United States who's never put his hand on the Bible during his inaugural.
Yeah.
What the hell is that?
I don't know if that means he's a secular person. I think it means he's got a different religion.
No, I'm saying he had been perceived as a secular individual. And clearly there's...
So where does this go?
I wish I could answer that question. I don't know. It doesn't seem like we're getting out of Iran anytime soon. It doesn't seem like the Strait of Hormuz is going to open anytime soon. It doesn't seem like Bibi Netanyahu is going to allow us to achieve peace. Doesn't seem like American power is getting any stronger. Doesn't seem like the American people are going to stop suffering anytime soon. I think at some point, there are mechanisms for dealing with a government that's not responsive. I hope it doesn't go there, but it does. People are upset, man. I've never seen anything like it, actually.
Is that true?
Oh, people are outraged. And why wouldn't they be?
You and I and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him, I campaigned for him. We're implicated in this for sure.
Yes.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind, or oh, this is bad, I'm out. It's in very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yes.
So I do think it's a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. and I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. It was not intentional. That's all I'll say. But anyway, the question does present itself immediately. Like, what is this? Was this always the plan? You don't want to be a conspiracy nut, but like clearly there were signs of low character. We knew that.
I've heard enough. Tucker Carlson saying we didn't intentionally do this, and there were quote unquote signs of Trump's character issues. And who he's interviewing there is his brother, Buckley Carlson. And he is a Republican Party operative who previously wrote speeches for Trump. His son, also named Buckley, recently resigned as Vance's deputy press secretary following his dad's fallout with Trump. And I have huge issues with these triple Trumpers, that now the very obvious conclusion that Trump is a dipshit, a fascist, a criminal, a con man, and it took you 10, 11 years to figure it out. I'm sorry. I just don't have a lot of empathy for that.
The bigger problem for me is, what did you get from Trump that you didn't expect? Because you got him you got just as advertised. All of us did. It's so much self-serving bullshit. And what really is going on here is that for some reason, Tucker Carlson's not getting exactly what he wants from this president. And so now he wants to have buyer's remorse. It's not because he's got some sort of moral compass and he has somehow seen the light. It's because it doesn't serve his own interest anymore. Complete hypocrisy.
So there's this whole notion right now with a lot of people, Josh, that say, we need to offer these triple Trumpers an off-ramp. And I personally feel like, and you and you grew up in rural Oklahoma, I mean, MAGA central. I grew up in Oklahoma City, the suburbs. And I feel like there's always deference to people who bend their knee to the patriarchy, whose first impulses are homophobia, racism, worshiping money, worshiping rich people. And they all screw up really bad for 11 years now. And then it's like, oh, these poor babies, we need to offer them an off-ramp. And I just have a hard time believing that offering these people an off-ramp, and you know these people, you know both the rural type of Trumper, and then we both know the country club type of Trumper that has gay friends, that tries to act socially cool, but every chance they can get, they go vote for racism because they like it. I don't see these people ever voting for Democrats, ever. And I'm not saying we have to be cruel to these people, but not holding them accountable or giving them this off-ramp and coddling them is not something I am capable of doing. I'm capable of fighting for them to have health care. I'm capable of fighting for their future children or grandchildren that might be gay to be treated equally under the law and not be discriminated against by people like these triple Trumpers that vote this way, homophobes like Tucker Carlson. But what's your take on a rural triple Trumper and then the country club?
Well, I think some voters in places like Oklahoma, more rural areas, sometimes they do genuinely have remorse. So maybe they're not educated about certain issues. But a lot of times, like with Tucker Carlson, what we see here is he's not against what Trump stands for. That's not what he's saying here. Something has happened where it doesn't serve his interest anymore to be a racist or to be a homophobe. So now he's changed gears. So, I mean, I think that as Democrats, we want to embrace and open up the idea of trying to reach out to people who genuinely have contrition, who maybe made a mistake. It's certainly worth examining why they voted for Trump in the first place. But people like Tucker Carlson and other politicians, their motives are self-serving. Like it's clear who Tucker Carlson is. It's clear that he knew what he was signing up for when he supported Donald Trump. As you said, his brother worked for J.D. Vance. There's no surprise here at the end of this rainbow that he's getting something that he didn't know he was getting. So to hear him go on and give this, somewhat contrite speech about I'm sorry and I feel responsible. I mean, it's just bullshit. It's just bullshit.
Tucker Carlson has now formally apologized for endorsing Trump, saying that he will be tormented by this and that he is sorry. He said to his brother on his show that they both must do more than simply say it was wrong. They must apologize. And I've been asked by a lot of people, What do I think about Tucker Carlson? Now, when you ask me about some of these other individuals that Donald Trump has gone after, I will defend Alex Jones despite, I think, fair criticisms and shortcomings. But I like Alex, and he's got a long storied career. Tucker Carlson, I think also similarly. And I would say this. Let me rank the people that Trump besmirched, as it were. First and foremost, the one I respect the most is going to be Alex Jones. Despite there being some shortcomings, some issues, I'm not going to dive into criticizing Alex or anything like that, but there's some issues. But I the most respect for him. Followed, in fact, by Tucker Carlson, then Megyn, then Candace. The thing about Megyn is I'm not all that concerned about Megyn Kelly's show. Not that she cares about my opinion or anything like that. But the defense of Candace Owens, it's very weak. It's very weak. It's weird. It's not like Tucker apologizing. I can respect. He's willing to put out a big statement and say these things. Megyn just seems to be saying whatever she thinks is going to generate traffic as she brags on X about how many views she's getting from shorts on YouTube. Congratulations, I guessed. It's just kind of crazy.
Why don't y'all just admit you're bad judges of character? And the reason why y'all are bad judges of character is because of racism. And you think anybody that look like you is trustworthy, and that's who you go with. And sometimes that's not necessarily the best person to go with. But all this, oh, well, no, you are a bad judge of character. Because let me tell you, even in Donald Trump's first term, he showed his ass quite a few times even then. And some of y'all thought he was trustworthy enough to vote for again. And you ran out there and you voted for him. You know why? You thought he was going to come down on us. At the end of the day, the reason why most of you voted for Donald Trump, you thought you were going to be able to coast through these 4 years while Donald Trump ruled with an iron fist on us. And the plan got foiled when our folks refused to go out in these streets. We foiled your plan. Okay? And then you did all kinds of little jabs at us. You remember when Charlie Kirk was still alive? He was in the streets gleefully laughing when they were tearing up Black Lives Matter. We didn't give a shit about that crap out there in that street. And y'all thought that was going to send us in the street. See, you thought that because you really don't know us like you think you do. See, y'all think you know us. In fact, y'all used to even try to say you knew us better than we knew ourselves. That's such a bullshit saying. It ain't even funny. But the bottom line is you don't know us. You had plans. That was in Project 2025, was to lure us out to the streets and then blame martial law on us. Oh, Trump had to invoke martial law, the violence in the streets, the Black people in the streets. That's what you wanted to be able to do. And we foiled your plan. And it proves you didn't have a plan B, because you still have not been able to get us on these streets. Now, yeah, you got every now and then we got some knuckleheads that'll get on videos. It's time for us to get back on the street. And my thing is to those people, you take your ass out there. You take your ass out there. You ain't going to get everybody out there. But if you want to go out there that bad, you carry yourself out there then. But y'all pick someone that is like yourself. Donald Trump reminds you of yourself. His views, his policies remind you of yourself, remind you of your families that taught you racism. He reminds you of that. So that was familiar to you. So you voted for Donald Trump. But see, now always remember something. You got to pay the same high gas prices that we have to pay. You have to pay the high grocery prices that we have to pay. You have to pay the high health insurance costs that we have to pay. You have to pay the high energy bills that we have to pay. And see, you're not getting spared from none of it. And I think what really got y'all is when Donald Trump first came into office, y'all, and did those mass firings, because a lot of MAGA work for the federal government. At least they used to. They worked for the federal government. And they were blindsided when Donald Trump came in there and snatched their jobs away. They, I would say, were the most impacted by those mass firings. Now, yeah, a lot of our people got caught up in that stuff too, but the majority of them were these MAGAs. They were these MAGAs. And they never got over that. That crippled a lot of them. And many of these videos that you see online where they're talking about, it's been a year and I can't find work, they are the ones that got fired by Donald Trump. They are the ones. And they seriously cannot find work. And many of them, which means they can't afford their mortgage, they can't afford their apartments, they can't afford nothing. Or they'll tell you, oh, the inflation is worse under Trump. I knew Donald Trump. I don't know about any of you. That's why I never spoke about that on video. You are not going to find one video of me believing that Donald Trump were going to lower the prices out here. I never did believe it, but I heard some of our other people on these channels doing that. Donald Trump said he's going to lower the prices, and they believed it. I didn't. Because my question was, okay, well, how is he going to lower the prices? It didn't make any sense. So you're just going to walk in office and say, okay, I want all the prices lowered, and it was just going to happen? He didn't have a plan. That's one thing about Donald Trump. He walked in office with no plan, just like he has no plan for this war. And the war is going so badly, he has no plan. Even some of the generals have spoken out and said he went into this war with no plan. This is the entire Donald Trump presidency. No plan. This is whole presidency, for real. So I don't feel sorry for these guys. I really don't. Now, they'll probably forgive each other because this is what they do. But in reality, y'all, I'm not shocked over that part. They can do the worst thing out here. And, they got each other's back. They're going to still stay on code. But me, no, I don't forgive you, because y'all went in there and voted for this man. As far as I'm concerned, I will always see it this way. This is absolutely their fault. This is their fault. And that's where I stand. All right, y'all, let's go on.
Admitted that he regrets voting MAGA, misleading people about Donald Trump, and that he will be tormented for a long time about his role in helping Donald Trump get elected.
I mean, you and I and everyone else who supported him, you wrote speeches for him, I campaigned for him. I mean, we're implicated in this for sure.
Yes.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind, or like, oh, this is bad, I'm out. It's like in very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yes.
So I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. It was not intentional. That's all I'll say. But anyway, the question does present itself immediately. Like, what is this? Was this always the plan? You don't want to be a conspiracy nut, but like clearly there were signs of low character. We knew that.
Yes.
Now, I am still a firm believer that these people knew what the fuck they were voting for and what the fuck they were doing. But this is the start. If you are going to try to start fresh, condemn the shit and make amends with what you got us into, this is the start, okay? But let me know what y'all think.
And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. It was not intentional.
Bullshit. Come on, not intentional. I believe, in my opinion, a more accurate statement would be that Tucker Carlson misled the public because he misunderstood the intention, because he was also possibly being misled. And I have been saying this for all 4 years that I've been on this app. Why do you give politicians a pass for bullshitting? Do you think that they're not bullshitting you as well? It feels to me like a lot of people are willing to give a bullshit pass to a politician they believe is going to address something that they want addressed, like food prices, right? Everybody's like, well, at least they're talking about it. At least the conversation is going. But may I remind you that when JD Vance talked about people eating cats and dogs, he said, well, you gotta do stuff like that so people get talking about the right things. And now we've got a politician who's saying that there's a food packaging tax. It's total bullshit. I don't believe that bullshitting to Canadians just to get them to talk about something important is the right route. Tell me if you disagree. And also watch Tucker with his reflections.
It's not enough to say, well, I changed my mind, or like, oh, this is bad, I'm out. It's like, in very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yes.
I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be.
Hey, Tucker. Hey, I just wanted to let you know that I got your apology. And, obviously you apologize for leading people astray. Obviously not people with functioning brains, but that you led them astray as a journalist. And no, you did no such thing as a journalist. A journalist has ethics and standards, and there is a process, and you did none of that. None of that. Your whole network still doesn't do any of that. You did not fail as a journalist. You failed as a human being. And you probably think that Dems, Libs, whatever, likes you now because you're so vehemently anti-Trump. And I just wanted to let you know 1000% for sure that no, we don't accept your apology. You're still in. And we're good. We're good. Thanks.
In very small ways, but in real ways, you and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yes.
So I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. It was not intentional. That's all I'll say. But anyway.
What am I supposed to do with this? What Tucker Carlson did over the last 10 years is the equivalent of telling millions to jump off a cliff. Anyone that has a semblance of common sense would say, don't do that. Don't do it. You'll hurt yourself. If not, lose your life. But this man, weekly on Fox News, would tell people, you'll be just fine. It's great for you. Just take that leap of faith. And millions in 2016 and 2020 and in 2024 jumped off the cliff. Some of them were fine that first time. But the second and third times, people lost their lives and broke some bones. And now, after telling them for 10 years to jump off the cliff, he comes out and says, you know what? That was a bad idea. I'm so sorry. I told you all to jump off a cliff. What am I supposed to do with that, Tucker? The damage is done. You can't wash this all away by saying, I'm sorry. You're going to have to do a lot of work. Work that should not earn you anyone's forgiveness. Are you going to vote Democrat? Are you going to advocate for Democrats? Are you going to advocate for universal health care? Are you going to put in the work and turn over a new leaf? Or are you going to do the exact same thing you've always done? Still vote Republican, still support Republicans, or even worse, run for president, doing what he did, but you won't attack Iran, or you won't pick people off the street, but you'll maintain everything that he brought forth. They haven't learned their lesson. This is why I keep saying they can't sit with us, and why these apologies don't mean anything to me. So unless Tucker Carlson is going to turn over a new leaf and actually help us get out of the hell he put us in, shut the hell up, keep your apology, and go down with the ship. I'm over this. Give me your thoughts down below. You're not crazy.
And now all of a sudden you want me to forgive you for this situation? No, thank you, Tucker Carlson.
You and me and millions of people like us are the reason this is happening right now.
Yes.
So I do think it's like a moment to wrestle with our own consciences. We'll be tormented by it for a long time. I will be. And I want to say I'm sorry for misleading people. It was not intentional.
I don't believe him. He's not getting a bear hug from me. I don't think, the world's on fire and you can't just say oopsies. And the reason that I don't believe him is that, remember when Fox News parted ways with him because of a $787 million settlement over at Dominion, over those voting machines? Remember that whole scandal? Well, during that litigation in 2021, he texted someone and said that he hated Trump passionately. And then 2 years later, he said, I'm voting for Trump. And then in 2024, he endorsed him for president. So now all of a sudden, 2021, you hated him. And now all of a sudden, you want me to forgive you for this situation? No, thank you, Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't forgive him. I'm one of them. I don't care what Tucker says at this point. You can't take it back because the damage is done, and the damage is going to get worse with Donald Trump in office. That's why we're seeing no ending to the war. This man is incapable of sitting with allies, sitting with enemy. It doesn't matter. He is always going to be indifferent to everybody. That's how Donald Trump is. That's his personality. So Tucker and his brother and whoever else in his family, y'all can go shove it. All of you. Because you didn't have no doubt when the election was going on. Now you want to tuck your tail and nah. So y'all, you know what this is a sign of? This is a sign of how bad judgment really, truly will be on these people. When they got to break down and confess and admit they have done wrong, the judge, they feel that guilt. That judgment is coming, and man, it's going to be harsh. It's going to be harsh. So, we're used to a demon bearing down on us because, we've been dealing with demons for 400 years. Trump is just another one of those demons. That's it. And we're used to the Donald Trumps. We're used to dealing with them. We're used to hearing them. And we're used to the lies. We know we've been lied to this entire time. We know. We already know. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. Thank you so much for being here. I may have another live a little later, so just be on the lookout for that. And don't forget to pick up your hair products. 12 Tribes on Earth, Etsy, Shopify, and TikTok Shop. Shalom, family.